the regularly scheduled Community Service Commission meeting of September 2nd, 2020. Let the record reflect that all commissioners, except for Jim Rosenberg, who has an excused absence, are present, with Chair Herron calling in remotely.
Chair, sure, I am calling in remotely.
Oh, Jim is calling in remotely. Thank you. At this time, I would ask Commissioner Porter to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the time for presentation items, and we have two presentations this evening, and Director Channing will introduce these items.
Good evening, Vice Chair Scher. Our first presentation for tonight, I'm asking that we table that until the next meeting of the Community Services Commission because Commissioner Rosenberg was unable to be here with us tonight. So we're going to table that to the next meeting. And so then the next presentation we have is a Public Works update, quarterly update, and we have our Public Works Director, Mr. Tom Wheeler, here to give the presentation.
Try that again. Good evening. Thanks for letting me be here tonight. We've got the quarterly report, which is pretty thick in your packet. So really here, I just want to highlight a couple projects to let you know. The City Council last night changed some of the CIP projects. We had an update every year or so. We update the CIP projects. So we had our mid-cycle review last night, and they made a few changes, but not many. For the most part, we're still on schedule. The big projects of note is, of course, Cherry Park is a big renovation project that's under construction right now. So we're still on schedule, no major issues yet. Still on schedule to complete that work at the beginning of the year. The biggest thing, I think, in terms of what's going on for this commission is Portola Park and that progress. We laid sod this week, so the last final bit of turf has been laid at the park. It looks beautiful. We will be paving the parking lot this week and next, and that will finish up the major parts of construction for that project. We'll finish out the project this next month or two with the punch list items, the detail work, install the volleyball nets, the pickleball nets, make sure the restrooms work, all that good stuff. Let the grass grow, let the roots establish themselves. So we're looking, depending on weather and how the project works, we're looking at a opening in November for Portola Park. So we're really excited about that. So that's the next and biggest and greatest park. If you recall, that's got a large dog park, and it's got some pretty cool little balance type dog things to try out. And so it's a little different. And so that'll be a neat thing. So that's the big thing. I'm really available to any questions that you might have or anything you want to talk about.
I don't believe there's any questions or any comments at this time.
Well, that's the best kind of presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we will be open for public comments. I don't believe there's anybody that's filed a card.
I have not received any.
Thank you. We'll move forward to our next agenda item. At this time, we would consider the commission matters listed under the consent calendar, which includes approval of the minutes of the July 8th Community Services Commission. Do any commissioners wish to discuss this item, or is there a motion from the floor to consider this item of minutes? The chair would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Is there a second? Thank you.
We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Matzel? Commissioner Porter? Commissioner Rosenberg? Commissioner Rosenberg? There must be a technical.
Director Wheeler, a question or two, and that got glossed over. So should I dial back in? What should I do?
We can hear you now if
We
you'd
can
like
hear- yeah.
to vote for the consent calendar.
Okay, I will, Mr. Wheeler, if you're still there and in earshot, I will forward the questions I had on your report to you later. Okay, move forward, that's fine.
Vice Chair Scher?
Yes,
Chair Heron?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you.
we'll move forward into discussion items. We have 2 items this evening, and Director Channing will introduce these items 4 and 5.
Thank you, Vice Chair Scheer. Our first discussion item for tonight is the July-August 2020 Recreation Report, and I'm going to be passing that over to our 2 recreation managers, Vicki Leppin and Laura Lisak.
Good evening, good evening, Vice Chair Scheer and Commissioners. Tonight I'm going to discuss with you the activities and that have been going on during the months of July, August, and currently. As you may know, youth sports have been permitted on our fields. Beginning with the sports park, we had opened our turf fields to small youth training groups. That is for practices only. We do not have scheduled games or anything like that. It is small groups, groups of 12 and lower with a 1-to-12 ratio. So it'd be 1 coach to a group of 12. During that time of opening, we had closed and then we reopened. So at this current point of today, we are currently open. During this time also, all of our other parks were under renovation. So it happened to be timing, good timing for all of that to have the renovation going on. Since then, on Monday, we reopened all of our sports park fields within the city. So all 8 sports parks are now open for the same type of activities for youth sports. So again, practices and training only for youth 18 and under. Adults are not yet permitted to use fields. We also are looking forward to, if you have not heard or seen or got wind of our drive-in movie event, that's going to be coming up on September 25th. So please keep a lookout for that. We're going to be having a registration starting September 14th. It'll be $20 per car. Please let your neighbors know because it will sell out fast, if not within a few hours. So it's going to be over at the Hoag Health Center parking lot. We're going to sell 100 tickets. We were fortunate enough to work with the Chamber of Commerce and able to get some sponsorships to help offset the cost for that. But we're looking forward to showing the movie Aladdin and looking forward to all the families that will be there to appreciate and enjoy that movie for the night. I'll turn it over for Vicki with the rest of the activities for those months.
So highlights for the month of July and August in the areas that I oversee, which are the skate park and the clubhouse. Once again, we're still continuing with our virtual contest at the skate park. For this last contest we had, it's called Slappy Happy Challenge, and we are always trying to do things that people can do at home since the skate park is still closed. We had over 50 participants take part in this challenge. I was talking to Kevin yesterday or the day before, and he said we had some entries that were as from far away as North Korea, South Korea, Europe.
Wow.
So I said next time he does a CMU for all of us, I need him to put that in there so that we can see that we're getting worldwide coverage for our virtual programs. In the area of the clubhouse, we're still continuing with our virtual bingo program, which has become very popular. We have 24 people that are taking part in that every Thursday. We also have our Crafty Crafters take-home kits. Now up to 16 people that are coming here to pick up those craft kits once a month. We have put together our next senior virtual calendar that covers the months of September and October, and that went out to participants last week. It went out with lots of new programs that I will be highlighting when we are back together next month. So those are the programs I have to give you highlights on, and Laura and I would be very happy to answer any questions for you.
I have one question. I know you were trying to, the skate park was under the same category as playgrounds in terms of opening. Have you had any luck in terms of?
We haven't heard any updates on that yet. Have you heard anything, Brett, recently from, Deborah has a weekly call-in with the Orange County Health Department, and I don't know if that was covered in this past discussion.
Yes, it's been something that's been brought up almost on a weekly basis with the county, by the different cities within Orange County, about skate parks, and we continue to get the same answer, which is they're to stay closed, and the state has told the county of Orange that guidance is forthcoming for both adult sports and skate parks, but we haven't received that yet. We've kind of received the same response for about a month now, unfortunately.
I've received a lot of inquiries from just people that I know use it. And do you know where they are in terms of like, I know we're like in this new purple thing, purple zone, how long they have to wait to be open?
For the skate park, again, unfortunately, when we both looked through the governor's new guidance, and there's nothing that mentions anything about skate parks or playgrounds at any level, even up to yellow. So it's unclear when
Just kind of fell
skate
through the
parks and
cracks.
playgrounds would be available within any level of the governor's new plan.
Would that then fall back to the county
Potentially.
since there isn't? I just wondered.
We continue at the staffing level, though, to be ready. So as soon as we're given the green light to go, we will be ready to open. We have everything set in place with social distancing, temperature checks,
Well, it
new
seems-
ways to
yeah,
have
it's-
people come in groups and skate in groups, what they call like a pod. So the same pod will be skating every single time. We have everything ready to go. So as soon as we get that green light, believe you me, there'll be a lot of kids there.
Oh, I'm sure
Yes.
they will.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think to add to this line, I guess first thing I'm going to ask you, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Good. With this issue with the standards being proposed or dictated, call it that, by the state of California, the easiest way when you want to not do something is to leave it for later. Kick the can down the road, and this is essentially what is being done with certain hot potatoes, that instead of making a decision, it is just left for later, and that decision will come. And I think all we can do is be just patient, because really there is nothing that we or any other municipality can do to, let's say, force the issue. It's just not going to happen. And that's not a very positive outlook, but it's an honest one, because you see it in so many different areas with how closures and reopenings are being treated, and how it's part of this and not part of that. That's just part of the game that is being played right now. If I could make a couple of other, please, comments on what was covered in the rec report. Sadly, and I know I've talked to Director Channing about this a couple times, not all youth groups are following the rules as stated. There is a group, or was more than now, while the park on Regency was still under closure, that were practicing up there. They were teenage girls, and they were holding full field, full team scrimmages, meaning 22 players out on the field at any given time and going full bore at it. And I know that Director Channing made staff aware of that. So, unfortunately, there's always going to be one or two that are this way. Another quick comment, again, to comment on the creativity of staff of what they are doing under the circumstances with programs. I think hearing now that the skate park program do entries, it drew them from literally all over the world, not just from the local area, is absolutely phenomenal as to the draw. And I'm wondering if Kevin could be encouraged to run that same type of program again, maybe in a month or two, that it doesn't get really stale, but that the people out there, the public of the skate park, can see that there is an interest in what they can contribute to the effort, which is, I think, is wonderful. The other thing for special needs, and I've talked to Kevin a couple of times just to mention that his PPE drives for special needs families, there are a couple of people that through the chamber I have contact with that can help, that are willing to donate to something like that. So again, let's not look the horse in the mouth, so to speak, but if he would like to do it again, there are a couple that are quite willing to step forward and donate that amount, 100 or so kits for different families. And I think, again, reading this and looking at it, it's just, again, phenomenal as to what our recreation staff is doing. And my kudos to everybody. Much more than ever could be expected. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nicely said, Mr. Rosenberg. So I won't go on, but Manager Laura Lisek, who I've worked with on the parade, I mean, she kind of got dropped into the parade committee, like after, somebody else had been doing it for many years, so I know it was very hard for you. When you stepped in that first year, it was beautiful. You are continuing to do great things, so I have personal experience with Laura, so awesome. So to Manager Lisak and Blethen, like Mr. Rosenberg said, way to navigate through this. It's not like you just shut down and said, sorry, see you after the COVID's over, because a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah.
So, I expected nothing less of you, but I just want to let you know, I personally appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
If there's no further comment, we go to item number 5.
All right.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Scheer. So the last item on the agenda, discussion item, I should say, on the agenda is regarding a potential Proposition 68 per capita grant projects. And we have tonight, Nicole Miller, our management analyst, is going to give the presentation for you.
Okay, great. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. We're going to talk about some potential programs for some grant money that we are eligible for through the state. So the state is eligible for an entitlement, the city is eligible for an entitlement grant through the California Department of Parks and Recreation, funded through Proposition 68. The city's allocation is $177,952, and funding must be used for recreation purposes
This includes rehabilitating infrastructure and/or addressing deficiencies in neighborhoods lacking access to the outdoors. In some cases, the grant guidelines require a 20% funding match from the city, and this match is required when a project does not immediately serve a severely disadvantaged community, which is defined as a median household income less than 60% of the statewide average. The match must be for the entire project as opposed to 20% of the grant funding. The City Council authorized staff to file project applications to receive this allocation on August 18th. So the next step in the process is to choose the projects and submit the applications. So tonight, staff is requesting that the commission provide input on the 11 projects that staff met and discussed that we could potentially use this funding for. We would like, or we ask, that you give us top 4 projects potentially, or up to 4 projects that we could use this grant money for. And we will include your input in any future conversations with the City Council regarding these projects. So here's the list of 11 projects. They are assigned, or they're organized from least costly to most costly. And as you've seen this evening, our Public Works Director is here and can answer any specific questions that you might have about these particular projects. But at this time, we would ask that the commission discuss and provide feedback. So I'll leave it there unless you have any questions for me regarding the grant itself.
All right, the floor is open. For
I have,
I'm sorry?
Nicole, a question regarding the, honestly, the most expensive item on the list, and that is replacement of the synthetic turf at the sports park. My understanding when that was put in is that it had a shelf life of, let's say, up to 10 years. And we're going on year 5 right now, or we're in year 5. Has it, and maybe that's a better question for Mr. Wheeler, has it deteriorated to the point that it needs replacement?
I am going to turn that question over to Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you.
No, it hasn't at this point.
Okay, so that is not a, would it be fair to say that is not a really, something that is really needed right now?
Correct. That was more of a future project that we have to keep in mind that it could be happening. I get exactly how long this grant lasts, but it may be coming up in a few more years. So we want to just keep everyone aware of that. It could be potentially a large ticket item.
Because the money involved, when you look at the listing of the projects, boy, it doesn't go a long way. That's for sure. And then trying to figure out or pick ones that would be most advantageous to the city, that's a kind of another hard one. The other question I had from a standpoint, maybe it's ignorance, is turf replacement at the skate park at Etnies. What does that entail?
I'm sorry, did you say the turf replacement at the skate park?
At the skate park,
Yes.
it's right before the bottom one, Etnies Skate Park turf replacement.
So there's the grass hill that we would normally be putting the bleachers on for some of the larger contests. We've talked about taking that turf out and putting in synthetic turf to reduce the cost of maintaining that particular grass area. That's what that is in reference to.
So it's not synthetic right now. It's just replacing it with
Yes.
something that would last longer. Okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
Are there other comments from the commission or questions?
Questions. Are there some, I mean, if I look at if I just glance at this list, I mean, it looks like retrofitting for pickleball is going to benefit a lot of our residents, as well as like the exercise equipment installation, because I know the gyms are closed. So just glancing just at this list, those two things kind of pop out. But are there, on this list, are there some that are really more needed to maintain, like the structure, or that are more needed than others?
I'll give you my 2 cents.
I mean, I know they're all like.
From the,
versus-
from the public works standpoint, the one I'm most concerned about is Heroes Park, the electrical control box repair and replacement. That is a very old system that we've been looking at it for doing some LED replacement of the bulbs and stuff. And when we got into it, the consultant who was there to look for replacement of the lights said, wow, this control box is rusted out, it's old, we've been Band-Aids and jumper cables and all sorts of things to keep it running. That's the one that concerns me the most, because if that goes down, we've lost all those fields for, all winter long,
Okay,
in terms of electrical and keeping those lights on. And we can't do an LED replacement project unless you really replace and robust it. So that's a nice sized project. It's about the grant size. It matches. We only have one set of paperwork documents to go through instead of 10 different projects. So from a public works standpoint, I would love to put my 2 cents towards that project. I think that'll make a lot of bang for the community
that's.
if we keep that in place.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, was just kind of that type of input.
Victor Shear, my comment is, in looking at short and long-term needs, that what project can benefit the community from an immediate standpoint. And I'm glad that comments were made on Heroes Park LED retrofitting. I believe that's what you were referring to?
So there's 2 different projects on there. One is the LED retrofitting for $500,000, and then there's the $200,000 project, which is the electrical system that powers the lights.
That's the
And so when we went to look into the LED retrofit project, we realized there's a $200,000 worth of work we need to really do first to make that system workable and make sure it stays long-lasting before we even get to the LED
Sure,
projects.
I understand. Although you can make a case for all of the projects of being important, I think from a priority standpoint, I'm favoring the electrical control box repair, since that's critical. And given the age and issues that can be presented if this goes down, it would seem to me the Heroes Park electrical control box repair replacement, along with the Heroes Park LED retrofitting, would fit the criteria as far as priority from what I can see. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions on that?
Yes, I do. The project Lake Forest Sports Park LED retrofitting is one that has an asterisk with it, indicating that the city would be required to contribute up to almost $36,000. And I noticed that the Heroes Park LED retrofitting does not have that. Can you explain that maybe, Tom, why the sports park, for what seems to be a similar type of project, has the asterisk with it?
Yes, I can explain that, but first I'd like to clarify about whether or not you're referring to the chart in the PowerPoint presentation or the chart in your staff report.
In the staff report.
Okay, so when we published the staff report, the state had a module for identifying which projects required, or which areas where you could complete projects required that 20% match. After we published the staff report, the state updated that module. So these projects now on the PowerPoint are accurate in that If there is a asterisk next to them, that means that they are in a community that does not have, quote, severely disadvantaged people. So,
all right.
the reason why in your staff report it has an asterisk is because that information is old. Now, on the PowerPoint, both the Lake Forest Sports Park LED retrofitting and Heroes Park LED retrofitting have asterisks and would require the 20% match.
Okay, so they both would. All right.
So at this point, the only two projects on the list that do not require a 20% match is the Peachwood Park exercise equipment and the Kavanaugh Park tot lot replacement.
Well, for a bit of history to come out, and I think Loretta may be the other one who might remember this, but years ago, when we did our first park renovation series, Kavanaugh was on the list for the first series of parks. And we went, as we did to all of them, made a presentation, and the local residents basically told us to get back in our cars and go back where we came from, that they didn't need us or anything that we could provide. They didn't want any other people there and things like that. So even though it's, you know, the bottom end of the list, I still remember that. And I don't know if they still feel that way, but I sure wouldn't be immediately going out and donating funds to that neighborhood unless they've definitively changed their approach to upgrading that facility.
This is Loretta, and I do remember that meeting, and perhaps some of those neighbors have moved out, new neighbors have moved in, so we probably should do a survey of that neighborhood to see if they even want a replacement of equipment.
Yep, I agree with that.
Certainly, we would do that before moving forward with any of these projects in some of these neighborhoods that are neighborhood parks.
Okay.
So at
But it
this,
does sound like the Heroes Park electrical control box is of a high degree of criticality, because if that goes, then that park's dark. Right? No other alternative.
yes, that's correct.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's for half a year, fairly extensively occupied for the younger children in the city for those leagues. So,
To me, it
I don't
was-
know, I hate to say that if I could be asked for 4 choices, that would be tough, but I know I can give 1 or 2. I would be willing to do that.
And that's fine too. I mean, you guys we were saying no more than 4. It was, if you're having a hard time deciding on those top 1 or 2, we said up to 4, but if you guys are really honing in on a couple, that's fine, and we'll take that direction.
Do you need a motion from the commission as to our recommendation?
We would like a motion from the commission as to
Well,
which projects you guys would like us to see, to look into further for this grant.
Do you want me to start?
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I'd
so
be happy to make the
The chair will
motion that
entertain a motion.
each commissioner provide up to 4 choices for investment of
Go ahead, Victor.
All right, well, I didn't hear a motion.
Do you want my recommendation?
Yes, we would like to have a motion as to our recommendation based on the discussion we just had.
I just made that motion.
Oh, wasn't clear.
Yeah, and I second it.
What was your motion?
Motion was that members of the commission provide up to 4 choices from projects on this list, the list presented to us, for consideration to be used for Proposition 68 funding.
Okay. But I think they want to do,
We want to get specific
Specific
projects on the
projects,
list, on the
right?
priority.
Correct. We're looking for specific projects on this list. If you could tell us up to 4 of these projects,
Well,
which ones you
Okay,
would.
I will recommend that to use the verbiage that each commissioner provide up to 4 specific projects
missing it.
for consideration for funding through Proposition 68.
Do I need to second that revised motion?
No,
No.
Okay, Thank you.
Discussion, what my expectation for the motion would be is to specify
which projects?
on the list specific projects that we have been discussing as a priority. And from what I'm hearing, the Heroes Park electrical priorities is critical. And I'd like to have the motion amended to include those 2 only.
Which
That
two?
would be on a priority basis.
Which two, the
The
electrical?
first 2.
Electrical?
Which you can do, Victor. Director Channing said you don't have to give 4, it's up to 4, and each commissioner can give whatever they want to give.
You need,
Well, we're recommending
I-
up of the list, those 2.
So what would be helpful for the commission as a body, not individually, to give up to 4 projects? So if possible, the 5 of you could come up with, if it's just 2, that's fine, but no more than 4 off of this list to recommend to look into further for the Prop 68 funding.
That should be fine.
Victor, my vote would be the Heroes Park electrical control box repair and replacement,
Right.
for sure.
Well, we can restate the motion as no more than 4, but recommending that those first 2 at Heroes Park would be the highest priority.
Victor, that is your recommendation. You can't make a recommendation for other people. If it falls that way, that's great, that's fine. But that's not a recommendation if you make the motion that this is the basic recommendation, and anything else basically you're saying is, well, that's catch-all.
What is his recommendation?
why don't we ask each commissioner what their
Yeah.
top choice or top 2 choices are, and see if we all concur, or at least get close to it.
That's fine.
That
We
was the
could
whole
go through
intent.
each person one by one
Yep.
with what your top choices would be, and then we can get to a consensus among those that everyone mentions.
Yes, thank you.
So Loretta, do you want to start?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you, I have 3. It would be the Peachwood Park exercise equipment, because I want it to like benefit the community. Also, I know how much we have pickleball lovers, the El Toro Park tennis court retrofit for a pickleball court, and then of course, the Heroes Park control box repair replacement. Those are my top 3. I know I'm over budget, but, oh well,
That's
Hey,
okay.
with that money, everybody's gonna be over budget.
I know.
All right, so then Jim, would you please give us your top choices?
Right, the first choice would be the Heroes Park electrical control box repair and replacement. That will be number 1. Number 2 would be the Peachwood Park exercise equipment install. And number 2.5, I'll call it that, positive consideration to Kavanaugh Park if in fact a survey of the neighborhood proves that that is the right thing to do.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Porter, do you want to give us your top
Sure.
choices?
The Heroes Park electrical control box repair would be my number one. Number two would be the El Toro Park retrofit for pickleball. And number three would be the Peachwood Park, because I feel like that's going to benefit the greatest number of residents.
All right, Commissioner Matzel?
Director Channing, I just have a question. I've been seeing people recuse themselves for many years at the council meetings. One of my choices would be the Peachwood Park exercise equipment installation, but I live off Tamarisk on Peachwood. Does that mean I can't consider that? That's one I can't pick, correct?
This isn't an official approval of the project, so I don't see any conflict
Okay, I
with
just
that.
want to
This is
make
just
sure.
what you would like to see as a recommendation doesn't mean it's actually going to happen at this point, so I
Right,
think you're.
because as Commissioner Porter said, lived in that neighborhood for like 27 years, and it definitely would benefit. It's been so many great improvements at that park, and I've seen it happen over the last 27 years. So then my recommendation would be the Heroes Park electrical control box replacement. I see a need in the other side, the Kavanaugh Park, which I believe that's over near Olivewood, is that on that area? Yeah. I'd like to see those folks benefit from something. So Kavanaugh Park tot lot replacement, and then the Peachwood Park exercise equipment installation. A lot of new homes going up in there, I can never forget if that's the Pinnacle or the Summit, but the 80 homes at the top of Peachwood. So that would be my Heroes Park electrical control box, Kavanaugh Park tot lot, and Peachwood Park exercise equipment installation.
Great.
Thank you.
And Mr. Vice Chair, sure?
Yes, most definitely the Heroes Park electrical control box, given the severity and the immediate need to repair. Secondly, given the shortages of pickleball courts in the city, I definitely favor the El Toro Park retrofit for the pickleball court, and also to ensure that our youngsters have a safe and rich experience at Kavanaugh Park for the tot lot replacement. So that'd be my top three.
Okay.
So it sounds like after polling all of you, I think we have a natural 4 projects. We have the electrical park box retrofit, the Kavanaugh Park tot lot, the Peachwood Park exercise equipment, and the pickleball court retrofit. So I think that worked out. So if someone wants to make a motion for those 4 projects as a
So moved.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion from, I think it was Commissioner Rosenberg, and a second from Matzel.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Matzel,
Aye.
Commissioner Porter, Commissioner Rosenberg,
Aye.
Vice Chair Scher,
Aye.
Chair Heron.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, well, thank you guys. So the next steps from here, as mentioned, we'll take these 4 projects, we'll analyze them further. We might have to do some community input with the Kavanaugh neighborhood, and we as staff will do some more analysis, because obviously we won't be able to do all 4 projects with the amount of money that we have. We'll have to prioritize, and certainly we'll be going to the city council with the staff's recommendation on how to move forward next, and we'll keep the commission in the loop with that progress on which project or projects are selected to move forward on. So thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Oops.
Welcome.
All right, moving on, director comments. Does staff have any comments at this time?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Scher. Just a couple comments. So I wanted to mention that I believe at the last meeting I had discussed that we were going to be looking into bringing Kids Factory back for the coming school year. And at the July council meeting, the city council directed staff to move forward with bringing Kids Factory back for the 2020 and 21 school year. At the meeting last night with the city council, they approved a fee for the Kids Factory program. It changed. It had been $100 for the year. But because of COVID and the uncertainties coming up with the future school year, the potential for shutdowns or people's personal situations to change, we went with a monthly fee moving forward for the school year. And it's going to be $95 per month or $75 for the month of December because it's a shortened school month. And our hope is that we'll get signups that we're going to hit our targets to where the cost to the city will be relatively low and it'll be almost a cost-neutral program, which was the direction of the council back in July. Also, it got brought up, I think it was by Commissioner Rosenberg, about some groups being out at parks, scrimmaging and not following the rules. I just wanted to let the commission know that one other initiative we undertook about 3 weeks ago was having some of our part-time staff are routinely every day going around to each park throughout the city, or I guess not each park, but specific parks throughout the city, and doing some spot checks to ensure that people are following the COVID-19 guidelines, and they're reporting back to us to what they're seeing. So we're hoping, it's happened a few times, it's been very helpful. We've spotted some graffiti, some other things, and they've been able to report to us if there's been groups routinely out at certain parks. And we've been able to notify the police if they needed to go out there and get in contact with some of these groups. So that's been a helpful program that we've been able to also give some hours to some of our part-time staff that we've had to keep furloughed because of the facilities being closed. So that was a nice thing to do as well. And then finally, I believe at our last meeting, we mentioned to you guys that the leaflet and leisure times are being combined into one issue moving forward for this fiscal year. So our first issue should be hitting homes next week, late next week. And we will include some information about the recreation classes that we are able to offer for the fall. And as mentioned, those are classes that are all being held outdoors and allow for safe social distancing. And that's it for my report.
Thank you.
Great.
We'll move into commission member comments in the following order. Commissioner Matsell, followed by Commissioner Porter, followed by Commissioner Rosenberg, Vice Chair Scheer, and to wrap up, Chair Herron. So Commissioner Matsell, please.
A quick interjection, Vice Chair Scheer. Did I zone out or did we not approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I don't think we did.
They were approved as submitted.
Okay.
They were?
Yes, they were approved. I think that's when we lost you there for a minute, Jim, and you missed the ability to speak with Mr. Wheeler. So it was right after that.
Okay. Better safe than sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Scheer. I just wanted to say welcome to Brett Channing as our new director. Welcome. I know you work really hard for the city, so I know you work really hard for this commission. And I already want to thank Jennifer for assisting me today. Thank you, Jennifer. Nice to also meet you. So welcome, and we're really lucky to have you. Thank you. And that's all I have, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think that you guys are doing a really good job getting creative during these times. I love seeing the international response you're getting with Etnies, and I think it's important. I'm excited about the drive-in movies. I noticed Irvine's doing that too, so that's pretty cool that we can get creative and do some different things. I'm happy to hear about Kids Factory coming back. I'm sure there's parents chomping at the bit to be able to sign up for that. So it's kind of nice to see the city getting back to a little bit more normalcy. We're not quite there, but I mean, it's just nice to see what's happening within the city. And I think everybody's doing a really good job and being very creative and smart at the same time. So good job, everybody.
Commissioner Rosenberg?
Yeah, thank you. I guess first thing I can do is put a big ditto under the totality of comments made by Commissioner Porter. We all know where we have been, and none of us really knows on a day-to-day basis sometimes where we are going. But when you look at the results that this city has accomplished during close to 6 months of basically the economy being shut down, it's miraculous. And I think everybody on the staff of this city deserves a compliment, a round of applause. I would say a raise, but I know we have an economic issue that we're all dealing with. The creativity is absolutely unbelievable, and I think we should encourage our staff members to bring forward any idea. This is a time where no idea is meaningless or might not have a following. We've taken things that people are used to doing in person, we've converted them to virtual, and now we're seeing them flourish and grow so that people are finding another way to live this new normal, as it's called, that we're all part of. Part of that being involved with it and promoting it, this is a month where we had always one of the biggest events in the city, the Taste of Lake Forest. We won't have it in the same virtue this year and venue, but we will have a virtual Taste of Lake Forest that will run the entire month and give people a chance to go into and bring business to some of our restaurants who are hurting, who are needing the business, who are wanting it, who produce great food, and really, really helping, again, support local business. The drive-in movie, the movie in the park. What a great idea to add one syllable and a short word and call it movie in the parking lot. Again, great idea. The only question I have to Laura, is it the original Aladdin or is the modern remake? I think you would really have pulled the rabbit out of the hat if it was the original Aladdin. But hey, either one will be fine, and the people will appreciate it. And all of the other things that we are doing to keep our facilities running. I mean, I'm going to say shocked by the quarterly Public Works report, because it was a big package of information considering the time we're in, considering money shortages, but we are still committed, obviously, to maintaining levels of superiority as far as our city streets, our city parks, other facilities. You'd never know that there was a hurt going on, so to speak. And I think out of all of this, we will eventually come out of it stronger and better than we were before. And I consider it a privilege to be part of the effort during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Scheer. I was very impressed when I received an email over the summer on the virtual recreational classes and the variety of classes offered and the ease of registration particularly in the areas of music, drawing, and a variety of other arts. I got to hand it to staff for putting together such a agenda of items that would appeal to a number of different folks, adults and children. I was curious what the feedback is from the community and the level of participation, and realizing this was launched for the first time, is there any comments regarding those classes?
Regarding the virtual programming, we had, very few registrations, to be honest with you, just because it's something new and people
Sure.
weren't quite ready for that yet. But I was gonna save it for next month, but I'll just give you a little preview. We started registration this week for our classes that actually will be outside at the sports park, and we already have quite a bit of registrations, that's surprising to actually have in-person, people that are ready to be in person. They weren't ready to do it online, but they're ready to be in person in the social distance setting at the sports park outside on the commons area. So I'll be able to give you all those numbers at our next meeting.
Very good.
But it's really nice to see that people are ready to get going.
It's very exciting to see that, particularly people who are getting somewhat cabin fever oriented. Gives them an opportunity to dial in through a Zoom code, a YouTube channel, and I think that's just terrific on behalf of the community. Again, thank you. Job well done. Chair Herons, you're doing a wrap up.
Absolutely, thank you. And, excuse me, I just want to basically ditto what everybody has said. You're spot on to what I wanted to say. I, too, am looking forward to the drive-in movie, so I'll be online on the 14th to get my ticket. And also the virtual taste of Lake Forest. I ordered my ticket. I just need to go get it. And then we'll start tasting all of our wonderful places here in Lake Forest. In regards to the clubhouse calendar, I was blown away with all the great stuff that's in there, and I know our people will be very anxious and happy to have all that. And of course, our virtual bingo on Thursday mornings continues to be an excellent thing to do. And the Lake Forest Flash that I know both Vicki and Laura have done, and I'm just so proud of them. And I just think that's great that we have that on Facebook to kind of wake people up and say, hey, look what Lake Forest is doing, get involved. So there you go. So thank you, everyone. And of course, staff, as always, you do an excellent job, and I truly appreciate all that you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for October 7th. This meeting is now adjourned.
Okay. Thank you.